This segment sponsored by Viking Psychiatry.
Welcome back to Mental Health Matters with Viking Psychiatry. Today we're going to talk about the loneliness epidemic. And joining me today is Sean Goddard, the owner of Viking. Hello, Sean.
Hi, good
Welcome
to be
back.
Here. Thank you.
Yes. Okay, so this is such an important topic. I'm sure loneliness affects everyone, regardless if you are single, if you're married, your age. It really doesn't discriminate, right? Mm-hmm. And recently, the Surgeon General has declared, loneliness a health crisis. So what does that mean and why did that take place?
Well, I think it's a perfect time for us to talk about this because we just had Valentine's Day, right? And loneliness has really just become this major epidemic, especially since a major epidemic, right? COVID-19. Yeah. They've correlated loneliness to to be more deadly than smoking 15 cigarettes a day.
Wow.
If you think about that, and to kind of give it some context of how much loneliness can affect our mental and physical health. We've gotten into this situation where, for example, remote work has become a huge thing, right? And so initially that was very exciting for a lot of people to be able to work from home at the schedule you like and all those types of things. But I was just having a conversation with somebody this morning who works in an office by themselves, and they're looking forward to expansion, right? Because they said, I've always worked better as a team when I have a team around me. And we get into these situations nowadays where we're not in a team environment. We're not in these environments and we're left alone. Social media has really made it worse, right? It's great to say that you have 386 friends, but how many of those people are actual friends? How many of those people are people that you interact with? Having a like or 100 likes doesn't necessarily get rid of loneliness. And so all of that can really cause a struggle for people.
Yeah, and unfortunately, because social media has become such a primary way of communicating, people have really eliminated that personal outreach. I mean, you can see updates to people's lives, and then you go out to dinner or something, and it's like, people don't ask for updates because they're like, oh, I saw your life play out online. It's like, where's the conversation? Where's the communication? Where's picking up the phone again? And so sometimes loneliness can be short-term, okay? Sometimes it can be chronic where people experience it for a long term. And so what are some of the health consequences if someone is experiencing chronic loneliness?
That's a really good question. We as a human race are designed to be with people, right?
Yeah.
And to be put in situations where we're consistently not with people or not interacting. You talk about communication on social media, but is that really communication? How much communication is that? And what we see is over time, we can see higher levels of depression and anxiety from that loneliness, which shouldn't be that surprising to people, right? But what we also can begin to see is we can begin to see higher risks for cardiac issues, for example. Stress, loneliness leads to more chronic inflammation, which leads to more chronic health issues. And then, so if you're having increased heart concerns, cardiovascular concerns, there's also increased risk for stroke. So it can greatly affect your health in that way. We also see cognitive decline, right? I joke and laugh sometimes when I'm watching TV and I see these commercials come on about games, right? And train your brain and strengthen your brain and all those types of things. But because, yes, a game's going to fix all of it, right? But when we're not interacting with people, when we're not communicating, when we're not socializing, we're not using ourselves to our full capacity. And we're not engaging and interacting. And so it's kind of that saying I've talked about on the show before, feet in motion, brain in motion, right? We have to be in motion, right? We have to keep that brain active. And if we're isolating ourselves and just working from home and not connecting and not communicating with people, that's going to affect how we think and process long term.
Yeah, because is that type of connection when you're around someone and you're laughing or you're having that experience, does that release dopamine? Is that right?
Yeah. Dopamine and all types of little goody things, and so you can do interactions with people on multiple levels. For example, using that whole saying of feet in motion, go for a walk and go for a walk with somebody, right? And have a conversation, and then you're doubling down on that, and you're also improving your overall health by doing those types of things. We want to feel good, right? We we don't not feel good feeling bad, right? And far too often we settle with just feeling okay nowadays. And we really need to change that and limit the amount of superficial interactions that we have and increase the amount of true interactions that we have.
So
because
how do people go
listening.
about doing that? I mean, so how do they kind of get out of their bubble and combat this type of loneliness and really do try to get back in touch with people?
Yeah, it can be really hard, right? You know, we have all these apps that are available to help connect people and do those types of things, but sometimes that's just increasing further superficial interactions, right? Because are we actually taking that step? So I often tell people one of the best things you can do is look at your hobbies and how can you interact your hobbies if you're wanting to do that. If you're in an environment where you're, say, working remote from work, do you have an option to shift that and start to work 1 or 2 days in the office and be able to interact? If you're, you know, there are some people that are in a work environment but aren't actually communicating and interacting with their peers around them. And so do you potentially go on a lunch with one of your coworkers, right? Because far too often the people that are around you are also struggling with the same thing you are, and maybe what they need is that person to take that initial step. Right. I think back to being in high school and elementary school, right? Especially I moved around all the time and I was always the new kid, and there was a lot of fear for me to approach somebody and to interact. And I remember one of the best friends I had in middle school was somebody that came up to me, right, and approached me and said, "Hey, do you want to do this with me?" And that created this whole connection that turned into a very strong relationship. And so sometimes we can be that person by helping ourselves. We also help those around us.
Yeah, that's great. Good stuff. Thank you so much, Sean.
Thank you. It's such a good time being here with you.
Yes. And if you would like more information about Viking Psychiatry, we'll have their website listed below. You can go online, check out their services, their facilities in multiple locations, and I'll see you after the break.
This segment sponsored by Viking Psychiatry.